the next presentation in English language, gold mining.
Yes, and my apologies, my German's terrible, so it's best I speak English here today. My name's Peter Benke, Director of Corporate Development at GoldMining Inc. For those that don't know, gold mining is a very unique and interesting story within the gold sector. We represent a unique model, somewhat of a merchant bank with a robust balance sheet, some $180 million in cash and strategic investments, and another 20 million plus ounces in global resources that we strategically look to advance through joint ventures, spin-outs, divestitures, and also by advancing ourselves. In today's gold price environment, $2,700 an ounce gold, very bullish macroeconomic tailwinds for the commodity price. We're quite excited to see where gold could go, but that really has not been reflected within the equity markets for any type of gold investment. And for GoldMining Inc., that's no different. I'll be making some forward-looking statements. You can find our disclaimer on our website, and please review it as you look at the company. So as I mentioned, GoldMining Inc., a unique way to play the bullish environment we see for gold today. Underpinning our valuation and what really the company is built upon is our portfolio of assets. We have over a dozen assets throughout the Americas, Canada, the USA, Brazil, Colombia, and Peru, which globally host 12.5 million ounces in M&I resources and a further 9.7 million ounces in inferred resource. With over a dozen assets, it gives us the optionality to not be focused on a single asset. We aren't beholden. We don't live and die by a single drill hole. We're able to evaluate the portfolio and pick out the best ROI for any investment. Where is the best place for us to drill? What assets are potentially non-core, which we could look to monetize for a strong potential return? And what assets could we look to fund in a separate vehicle? And I'll give examples of how we've executed on that business plan in all three instances. Through this business plan, we've been able to assemble our war chest, almost $180 million in cash and strategic investments in marketable securities, and that's against a market cap today of only $240 million. You can see most of the valuation of the company is readily marked to market, with that 20 plus million ounces of global resource being attributed very little value in our portfolio today by the market. That's where we see tremendous upside once the market realizes the inherent value in the balance of our portfolio and the value we can create by executing on that business plan. Before diving into some of the specific assets we have across the portfolio, some of the nitty-gritty details. We are based in Vancouver, listed in New York and the Toronto Stock Exchange under the tickers GLDG and the one we love, GOLD, respectively. I've spoken to the balance sheet already, 11.2 million cash, $40 million in market value in gold royalty, another almost 120 million in value in US gold mining, and we do have other strategic investments there as well. Looking at our share register, we have strong shareholdings by some of the larger institutions. We are held by indices within the gold space, and insiders are large backers of the company as well. Finally, we are covered by two analysts on the street, Roth and H.C. Wainwright, which provide an independent view of the company. Now, looking at the people behind GoldMining Inc., we were founded by Amir Adnani, who's still the chairman of the company. Many of you will be familiar with him as he's a prolific entrepreneur with 20 plus years experience and is really driving forward some innovative things in the uranium sector, which is also a very exciting space. Our co-chair is David Garofalo, who brings over 30 years of experience running some of the largest gold mining companies in the world. Looking at our management team, we've got very strong technical expertise. Our CEO, Alistair Still, and VP of Exploration, Tim Smith, both came from Newmont, working in their corporate development and geological teams. And it's important that they came from a major company. They don't just bring that expertise, but they understand what the major companies are looking for in a potential acquisition target. And we're prepping our projects, given their knowledge, to put our projects in the crosshairs of those larger mining companies for potential acquisition. Finally, I'd highlight our president, Paulo Pereira, based in Brazil. He brings that local presence, and we have teams in country everywhere we operate. We're really part of the local community where we look to advance our assets. Now, zooming out, providing an overview of the portfolio, as I mentioned, 5 countries, a dozen projects, 12.5 million ounces gold equivalent in M&I, another 9.7 in inferred. About 80% of the portfolio is gold, another 20% copper within those assets. And as mentioned, this gives us the optionality to focus on specific key assets and then potentially divest and unlock the value of non-core assets where our focus isn't pinned. I'll start going through some of the key assets, and first I'll highlight our Whistler gold copper project in Alaska. We spun this project out into a new company called US GoldMining in 2023 and have since invested heavily, drilling 10,000 meters across the project in the last year. As a result of this exploration plan, we've been able to double the indicated resource at Whistler and increase the total resource significantly as well. The exciting parts about Whistler are they're in a great mining jurisdiction. It has a sizable resource that is attractive and big enough scale for the major companies to be looking at. And while some companies have had challenges operating in Alaska, we have very strong local support for the Whistler project. It is located fully on state land claims, which makes the permitting and advancement process quite simple. You're only dealing with the state rather than a federal entity. And we've seen local government investments going in to help advance the project. A local road to resources program is investing in a potential road that would go straight to our project and connect Whistler to Port Mackenzie, an existing port that is underutilized. And I'd highlight the governor of Alaska was recently at site, and he is really supportive of the project as well. So we're seeing state funding, state support, local community employment at the site, and then the technical merits of the asset really speak for themselves. With over 11 million ounces gold equivalent in resource and a very low strip ratio, this meaning that the waste associated with mining the open pit is very low, the economics of the project could be very exciting. And we're continuing to advance and look at the economic studies. The next step for Whistler will be continuing that community work, completing initial economics, and then looking to continue to grow the resource with this year's drilling program. Moving from Alaska to Colombia, I'd highlight a project that we focused on quite a bit in 2023, our La Mina asset just south of Medellin. We completed a drilling program last year, made a new discovery at La Garucha, increased the underlying resource, and then published an updated PEA last year, which using a 1975 gold price had an after-tax net present value of US $440 million. I'd remind you, GoldMining Inc. today has a market cap of Canadian $240 million. We have $180 million in cash and marketable securities, and just one of our projects has an after-tax NPV of US $440 million at a gold price of 1975 versus today's gold price of 2,700. The value of these assets within our portfolio are really not being reflected within our market value. Moving from Colombia to Brazil, another asset we're very excited about and one we're focused here on 2024. We completed a 4,000 meter drilling program at our San Jorge project. San Jorge lies along the Tocantinzinho trend. Those of you may be familiar with Tocantinzinho. It recently entered production and has seen significant investment from some of the largest financiers in the sector. We saw $500 million of investment from Franco-Nevada to help build this mine. And Tocantinzinho is a very similar size to San Jorge, but lies deep within the Amazon jungle. One of the key differentiators of San Jorge, and as you can see on this slide, is that it lies directly next to the federal highway and next to power lines. That access to infrastructure right beside the project is a key differentiator for San Jorge within the region. 700,000 plus ounces of measured and indicated resource, another 700,000 plus ounces of inferred, access to infrastructure, and ongoing drilling looking to improve that resource and grow it in the future. Similar to Whistler, next steps beyond this drilling program, growing the resource, will be better understanding of the economics, and then evaluating what alternatives are there for potential partnerships and ongoing discussions with those larger mining companies we have connections with. This is just highlighting some of the recent work. Very attractive drilling results, simple deposit near surface, and looking to grow that in the future. The auger drilling we've been doing has identified similar trends to San Jorge with the South Wellington and other trends within the region that we think could have parallel structures to replicate the type of mineralization we're seeing at San Jorge. Now, finally, to highlight the other part of our business model, aside from advancing these projects finding potential partnerships, is that value creation through divestiture of non-core assets. A couple of years ago, we sold our Nutmeg Mountain project, which we acquired in 2020 for only $900,000 US, for $16 million Canadian in total consideration in 2022. Now, this is an asset that would have potentially sat dormant in our portfolio, but we've been able to crystallize that value and retain upside through an equity position in the now operator NevGold. Where we think we could replicate this is at our non-core Rhea uranium project. I spoke to the uranium market earlier. Rhea is a non-core asset. We're a gold mining company, not a uranium mining company. But Rhea is located in one of the most prolific uranium locations in the world. And we're looking to potentially find a partner that could move this project forward as well. Now, with all that, as you can tell, we're operating around the world, Alaska, Brazil, Colombia, and our commitment to sustainability and the local impact we have is the same regardless of where we go. We have local management teams, and in the mining sector, without that social license, without being in good connectivity with the people you operate with, you'll never be able to build a mine. And while some of our assets are early stage, we start early and make sure we start developing that social license from the first activity we ever put in the ground. ESG can be a bit of a box-checking exercise, or some will view it as that way, but at gold mining, we like to think of it as just doing the right thing, having good community relations, mining and exploring in an environmentally sustainable way, and then having good governance practices with us as a corporate entity. So in summary, a lot of assets, a lot of work going on, but the broad strokes and main takeaways I'd like you to have with regards to Gold Mining Inc. are first, our robust balance sheet, really a war chest that gives us the optionality to do what we want to do and pursue the opportunities that unlock the most value. 12 plus assets, 20 plus million ounces of gold equivalent resource gives us that optionality to pursue the assets with the best ROI for our shareholders. And finally, a proven team, expertise and connectivity to the largest companies within the sector that allows us to understand what our shareholders want and delivering upon that over time. Thank you very much for your time, and we're at the booth if you have any questions.